Beyond the sun's rays, somewhere out there where the light itself thins, a silence stretches into infinity. The journey of the lonely traveler never ends. Voyager 1, launched in 1977, was never meant to survive this long or to cross into interstellar space, much less communicate with us nearly half a century later. Yet, despite all odds, it still whispers to Earth. For decades, its muffled voice carried nothing more than the unflinching facts of science, measurements of magnetic fields, counts of cosmic particles, a machine's raw pulse surviving in the abyss. But something else happened. A recent transmission was not typical. The data were unlike anything it had sent before. Buried in static were patterns deliberate, structured, and incredibly precise. It was not noise, nor was it a mistake. It was something else. Inside NASA, the initial response was not exuberance or curiosity, but fear. Voyager 1, farther from Earth than any machine in history, might be carrying a message from something beyond humanity. If so, we may not be as alone in the cosmos as we once thought. To comprehend the significance of this moment, we must step back to where it all began. Voyager 1 left Earth in 1977 during the height of space exploration. A twin to Voyager 2, it was designed to capture the first close-up views of the outer planets. It sent awe-inspiring images of Jupiter's tumultuous storms and Saturn's majestic rings and moons resembling miniature worlds. However, its mission was never meant to end there. With gravitational assistance, it was flung out of the planetary region of the solar system, gaining escape velocity and embarking on a path beyond the reach of our sun. Scientists believed it would fade after a decade or two, its systems quietly shutting down in the cold. Yet its radio voice thrived for nearly 50 years, growing weaker with distance but still clear enough to interpret. In 2012, Voyager 1 achieved what no human artifact had ever done. It crossed the heliopause, leaving the protective bubble of solar particles and entering true interstellar space. Humanity suddenly had a witness beyond the influence of our star-alone ambassador in the unknown. For years, what it sent back was exciting but expected. Measurements of plasma density, cosmic rays, and interstellar winds. Nothing suggested mystery, only data. But when its most recent message arrived, the predictable rhythm had changed. Voyager's steady voice seemed to crack, allowing something alien to bleed through. Communicating with Voyager is like listening for the faintest heartbeat in the void. Its 22-watt transmitter, weaker than a refrigerator light bulb, struggles across 15 billion miles, a journey that takes over 22 hours to reach Earth. When the signal arrives, it is so faint it could easily be lost in the background noise. Yet, thanks to the enormous dishes of the Deep Space Network, humans can still hear it. For decades, this connection provided consolation, a reminder that even across distances, we could still reach one of our creations. By 2023, however, that security turned to dread. Engineers noticed sequences woven into the routine flow of scientific data, sequences that were at first erratic but too structured to be ignored as static. The transmission carried what seemed like encrypted data, a rhythm pulsing against the silence of space. Some dismissed it as a tainted memory register in Voyager's failing hardware. After all, the probe is nearly 50 years old, running on technology less powerful than a modern digital watch. But others were unsettled. If it was a glitch, why did the sequences repeat with such accuracy? Why were the patterns too structured to be random? As one engineer whispered off the record, it looks like Voyager isn't the only one speaking anymore. The whisper crossed NASA's Deep Space Network and stirred the world of science. Had Voyager encountered something and struggled to inform us? The debate inside NASA quickly turned to anxiety. Voyager is not just a spacecraft, it is a relic and a symbol of optimism, carrying the famous golden record, a message from humanity to the cosmos. For it to now send something we cannot comprehend is not merely an anomaly. It is an irony that the universe might have chosen this very vessel to respond to us. Closed-door meetings intensified, with officials weighing how much to disclose to the public. Could they admit that Voyager's signal had changed, carrying patterns no one could explain? This risked sparking speculation of alien contact, something agencies are known for addressing cautiously. Behind those doors, rumors spread. Some believed Voyager had encountered a unique interstellar plasma wave that etched itself into the signal. Others considered more radical possibilities, that an unknown intelligence had intercepted its weak transmissions and was now speaking back through the same channel. To the outside world, NASA maintained its composure, issuing vague statements about data anomalies under evaluation. But inside, panic was not overstated. This was more than science, it was a crisis of control. When the farthest machine ever built begins sending messages you cannot decode, the narrative of human dominance over technology and the universe begins to fracture. What makes this moment haunting is its timing. Voyager 1 is in peril. Its plutonium power source, which has already lasted decades beyond expectation, is fading rapidly. One by one, its instruments are being turned off to conserve energy. Soon, even its voice will fall silent forever. This means that whatever it sent us may be the last thing we hear from it. Instead of a neat scientific conclusion, its final message has left us with fear and uncertainty. Was it the failing gasp of a dying probe, a last spark of corrupted code disguised as mystery? Or was it exactly what it appeared to be? An intentional pattern, an embedded message, and the signal, proof that something out there has noticed us. The irony is devastating. Voyager was sent out as a music and greetings carrier, a messenger to the stars, expecting no response. However, just as its voice is beginning to fade, it might have provided us with a response of its own, one that no one knows how to interpret. And that is the possibility that frightens NASA the most, because the last word of humanity's farthest traveler may not belong to us. It may belong to the entire universe. NASA's efforts grew as teams absorbed the data. Public discourse became less friendly and more calculated. The agency that once proudly shared every Voyager-related update suddenly became quiet, providing only vague remarks regarding the unexpected telemetry. Tension rose behind the scenes. Why conceal something if it was merely a breakdown? Why delay analysis if the answer was simple? Engineers who worked on the probe for decades found themselves excluded from private gatherings requested by intelligence agencies. Whispers of classification and briefings started to circulate. The silence became more than any official declaration. To the general public, NASA appeared to be simply managing aging hardware. But to those who were there, the silence carried a different message. A component of Voyager's most recent transmission was too jarring, too dangerous to explain away. The paradox could not be ignored. Voyager was launched with a golden record, a message from humanity to the cosmos, sounds, greetings in dozens of Earth's languages, and music intended to represent who we are. It was our invitation and gift, our hope that one day someone would locate it. But now, with its last breath, something strange had returned from Voyager, something that can't be understood, and it appeared to be an answer. Scientists began to wonder, what if the very act of broadcasting made us more visible? What if the patterns in Voyager's transmission were not random at all, but rather a response? The possibility that the golden record had been heard, causing the anomalies to spread, was even more unsettling. Because if this was contact, then it wasn't through a telescope or a distant signal from the stars. It was through a dying machine we launched 50 years ago, a machine that may have become the first bridge between us and everything else in the universe. Voyager's final transmissions may already be dwindling, its power too weak to keep its instruments running for much longer. Yet, instead of closing its story in a clear way, it leaves us with uncertainty and dread. What if the patterns persist? What if the next transmission carries something clearer, something unmistakable, that cannot be concealed behind ambiguous NASA statements? And what if the silence is not because Voyager's power finally passed away, but because someone on the other side decided to stop speaking entirely? These questions continue to haunt the engineers waiting for each weak pulse across billions of miles, because Voyager's whispers now are not just data, they are a potential revelation. And every time it stops talking, people wonder if we have just heard the last word not only from Voyager waiting in the dim light, but from somewhere else. Voyager 1 was never supposed to last this long. It was never meant to escape the solar system, to live beyond its creator's expectations, to be speaking to us after nearly half a century. Nevertheless, it remains here, whispering in a place where humans cannot hear or see, sending back fragments of data that may alter our entire faith in the universe. The final message has not provided us with closure or comfort. It has brought us fear, patterns to exact to be chance, anomalies to plan to be ignored, rhythms that look less like machine error and more like communication. Inside NASA, the panic is not because Voyager has failed, but because it may have done far too well. For decades, humanity has stared into the void, wondering if there was anyone out there. Now, at the very end of its life, Voyager may have responded, but in a language we cannot comprehend yet. Was it merely a failure, the final glimmer of a dead probe? Or was it something else, a sound from beyond the heliosphere, an indication that the universe is not empty but aware? We may never know for certain because Voyager is fading, its power source dwindling, its voice becoming less audible with each passing year. It will soon be silent forever. And when that happens, we will be left with nothing but questions, haunted by the possibility that Voyager became, in its final breath, the first messenger of humanity's contact with the unknown. The fear at NASA has nothing to do with what was heard. It deals with what could have been left unmentioned, what could be waiting for the next signal, the next whisper, in the silence that now looms. Because sometimes the most terrifying thing is not that the universe speaks. It is the thought that something out there already has our message and is deciding whether or not to respond. If you want to follow every update, each omitted flaw, and every detail regarding Voyager's final transmissions like this video, subscribe and enable notification settings. Because the final word from the edge of the universe may not simply shift science, it may change humanity itself.